What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Forspoken, because now I have completely beaten the game. I've finished the main story, I've done a lot of side content, I've unlocked pretty much every single spell in the game, and I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I do feel like this game is getting a lot of hate, and only some of it is deserved. This is a bad game in a lot of aspects. I do think there is a lot of major mistakes that have happened during development, very clearly. But I do feel like it's better in a way than I kind of thought it was going to be. But let's try and discuss all the aspects of that. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's start things off by talking about the story, then we're going to talk gameplay, and then the many technical problems that exist inside of Forspoken. Now first and foremost, the story has got to be the most controversial aspect of Forspoken. Just the writing itself. There's been a bunch of very viral clips going across the internet of quippy dialogue and very cringy lines about saving the world and talking to your little talking bracelet. In this game, we play as a woman named Frey. Frey is a typical New Yorker. She's trying to go around, get some chili dogs, and stay out of trouble. The problem is, she definitely gets herself into quite a bit of trouble during the course of even the introduction of this game. She's avoiding jail, she's stealing, she's definitely in over her head with some very dangerous people. When suddenly, she discovers a magical speaking bracelet that transports her to the land of Athia. Now, when you first see it, Athia very much feels like Final Fantasy. It's got dragons, it's got random monsters, it's got dungeons all over the place, but Athia feels different, certainly because it's more bleak than your standard Final Fantasy game. This is dark. This is a world that has been blighted by this thing called the Break. Essentially, this strange magical fog has completely covered the world. Anything it touches that's organic pretty much disintegrates. Dogs, people, anything, broken down to their most basic assets. If something gets into this fog and is not instantaneously vaporized, instead it is corrupted by the break. It turns you like a human may become a zombie. A dog or a bear will probably grow extra golden teeth and become very, very deliciously predatory. Now, I think the setting itself is probably my favorite part of this game. I think that kind of getting a chance to explore these very cool looking landscapes and just kind of soak up the environment, that to me kind of works. The problem comes down to the fact that Frey never, ever shuts up. There is constant dialogue during the entirety of this game. It took me 10 hours to finish the main story. I did another 5 hours of random side quests and dungeons and stuff. They never stop talking. Every 30 seconds of my entire 15 hours with this game, they have to constantly make some sort of witty banter about, oh, you need to dodge that attack, or Frey trying to complain about how much it sucks to save the world. Frey is so freaking annoying. Now, the problem with this game is that your job is to try and save the world from the break, and the way you've decided to do this is by destroying these 4 evil sorceresses called the Tantas. Now, they basically each have a different elemental type. They're like 4 major mages that have different abilities that are water-based or fire-based and stuff like that. So you break into their particular territory, which breaks the game into like 3 separate big chunks. It's like 4 major assassination missions, and when you're trying to pursue these targets, that's nice. It's that when you finally catch up with these Tantas or have to interact with random villagers and stuff like that, Frey is so incredibly mean. She is rude as hell to everybody. Now, my problem is that if she was trying to be like a cold, unfeeling badass, you know what? That's not always a good choice, but I would totally respect it. The problem is that there is some very major plot reveals. There are story twists that try and be very grandiose and epic. And while in a lot of ways I think they managed to sort of hit their stride, the issue really comes down to the fact that people are literally begging Frey to save the world because she seems to be the only person immune to the break, the only person that can even survive fighting back against the Tantas. She is so deeply disrespectful. She mocks people, she laughs. I mean, people ask her to save certain cities or try and, attempt to make sure that people survive, and she is just so smarmy. Now, I feel like they're trying to convey this like a Marvel movie. A lot of these newer Marvel movies try and just rely on humor too freaking much. There was a Marvel movie that came out just a couple months ago where a character admits they're dying of cancer, and 10 seconds later, they started busting out a Bluetooth speaker and having a dance scene. I think they're going for that Marvel movie humor throughout the entirety of this game. Lots of cringy jokes of, yeah, I've got magic powers. Yeah, I fight freaking dragons. And I don't think that's necessarily a mistake. It's just that it's so constant. It's just so perpetual into every single second of the entire game. It's just joke, 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 rudeness, dismissiveness, constantly trying to shirk the responsibilities of this land. It is so ridiculous. Now, I do say this as a mega Spider-Man fan, but you know what? When Spider-Man has more serious storylines, suddenly Spider-Man understands to be more serious. It's crazy to me that she is just so ridiculously grating throughout the entirety of the 15-hour experience. But what are you going to be playing when you actually go into the world of Athia? How does the gameplay itself work? So basically, this is a very open world experience. During the course of this, you have magical parkour that lets you straight up run up walls. You can grapple hook off certain points once you unlock the ability. You can skate across the surfaces of water. There's a lot of very cool traversal abilities that feel genuinely fantastic. This game fails in a lot of aspects, but when it comes to just the general going around, when it comes to just raw exploration, this feels great. There is some technical problems. Of course, stuff randomly gets blurry, which is very weird. Apparently, this game can dip down to 720p, and you certainly see it, but everything feels good in motion. While you're going across the land, the entire environment is very hostile to you. The creatures everywhere you go have been corrupted by the break, which means even general wildlife, stuff like deers or dogs and stuff like that, are a lot of times completely corrupted and must be fought. Now, when you play this game, perhaps my biggest gripe is the fact that you unlock abilities so freaking slow. You'll notice that for the first 60% of this game, I just used the basic rock shoot ability. Now, while you're fighting stuff, the experience points do level you up, but it doesn't just give you more like general health and stuff like that. Instead, it gives you mana. Unlocking more mana in this game gives you the ability to go to the skill tree and buy more skills, but only of your current elemental type. So at the start of the game, you can only buy more rock abilities. You can buy a shield block, you can buy a vine whip that lets you soak health out of enemies. But I guess my problem is that because it takes so many hours to get your first bit of fire skills and thus upgrade a fire sword and stuff, a lot of this game feels like you are waiting. You're constantly trying to save up your mana for that next major skill tree. That way you can unlock some skills that actually rock. Even as I began to upgrade my stuff by buying like rock shoot rank 2 and rank 3 and stuff like that, I don't really feel stronger because the way you actually increase your attack power in this game is by book reading. You go to this little library that exists in each of the safe rooms, which are all over the place. There's these little teeny tiny churches that are, there's like 500 of them just randomly placed across the map. All of them look identical. When you go in there, there's a bookshelf. use that and you can pick different challenges. These are like subquests that make it so that basically you choose these to make it where if you hit somebody's elemental weakness or kill 20 foes with one big hit or something like that, it basically gives you a permanent increase to your attack power. This stuff is big. Honestly, right at the start of the game, I decided to max out a lot of my different stuff because these goals, these upgrade missions, are so laughably easy. There keeps being these big groups of zombies that are just stumbling around in the environment that do like no damage. So once I discovered the upgrade system, I just kept going into the herds of zombies and spammed my attacks until I maxed out my attack power. This game is just too easy in general. It feels like charge attacks are so freaking powerful. The average enemy, even mega bosses or the Tauntas themselves, do not really have that much health. This is a game where I feel like maybe you're not supposed to grind at all, because if you actually upgrade your character, even in the slightest, you get ridiculously overpowered pretty much instantly. Now that does bring me to the crafting system, the other aspects of upgrades that exist inside this game itself, which is that when you're playing this, apparently what you can do is that whenever you're in town or in any of the safe rooms, you can tinker with specific elements of your gear. You can change it so that you can add on extra bits of passive attack power to red magic or purple magic or green magic and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff feels useless because your normal attack is already just so freaking high. It is so easy to break this game. Now you can, if you choose to do so, there are random dungeons all over the place. There's random empty towns and stuff that'll have challenge chests, which will summon like a little tiny boss. There's shrines you can track down and pray to, which will give you more attack power or more health or more stamina. And then once you do this, it gives you even more abilities, even more armor, even more stuff to keep you as tough as possible. I think this game is just something where it feels like during development they just did not know how to actually balance this, because on normal difficulty this feels very, very, very easy, which became incredibly boring. I mean, gathering supplies, getting potions, actually upgrading my potion bag, a lot of the stuff felt completely useless because nobody is ever going to be able to touch me. Why even go to a crafting bench and upgrade my passive abilities, or go into a dungeon to find a new cloak if I'm already just so strong? Why am I painting my nails, which gives me new passive buffs and stuff like that, if I'm already one-shotting 80% of the mobs I encounter? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the strange technical stuff I ran into. There were no crashes on PlayStation 5. There were no frame rate dips really on PlayStation 5. It felt like a solid 60 frames a second, but I played through the entire game on performance mode, and while certain parts of this map are creepily beautiful, I think a lot of the storms, a lot of the monster design, a lot of the art itself is very, very gorgeous. It keeps dipping in resolution massively. This game keeps looking very strangely bad in big chunks of the game, especially during cutscenes. It will randomly just nosedive the resolution, which is shocking to say the least. Now, I think it's probably just the game trying to compensate for the very terrible Luminous engine, or something definitely is happening on the back end. But even beyond that, there's strange world building details that don't exactly work. Like in towns, a lot of times there's just NPCs that, like, a lot of the towns feel very empty, or there will be a major city with a lady washing the floor. This lady is washing the floor even during storms, during apocalyptic events, during invasions. It literally does not make sense why the heck she's doing this. There's something about this game that definitely just feels like they kind of had to algorithmically generate a bunch of population. A bunch of this game feels very AI generated. The jokes are bad. The layout of shrines is so evenly sporadic. A lot of the monsters themselves do not exactly have the best AI. This game is not terrible. It doesn't really do a lot right, but it definitely feels like the first game that seems as if it was built by an algorithm. They just put in the words like Final Fantasy 15, Marvel movie, and this is what popped out. If you're looking for a game that's not going to really challenge you, but will mildly entertain you, this might be for you. But we've heard some good and some bad. Let's go over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Forspoken a 6 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming.